Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our little mini series on English for Travelers. I hope that you enjoyed the last lesson, and today we are going to be talking about how to get through the check-in desk. How to get through the check-in desk at the airport. We have a lot of terms for you today to learn, so let's get started. How's everybody doing? Are you planning a trip soon? Is that why you're studying this little series on English for Travelers? Well, that's exciting that you are going on a trip. Maybe you're going to visit some family or friends that you haven't seen for many years now because of the COVID travel restrictions. And now you can go. So I want to wish you all the best as you make plans for your travel. And I'm guessing that because you're watching this lesson that you might be just a little bit concerned about how you're going to navigate through the airport. Maybe it's the first time that you have got on an airplane and you're just a little bit worried. You're stressed out about all of the things that you might have to do to make it from your home onto that airplane seat. And that's one of the reasons why we're making these lessons, to help you make it to the airline seat from your home. And we've talked about what you need to do to get ready to go to the airport in our last lesson. Today we're going to talk about getting through that first step at the check-in counter at the airport. Let's maybe back up a little bit to when you're leaving your house. You've got all of your bags, your luggage, your suitcases. These are terms that we learned in our last lesson. And if you haven't seen that lesson, it'd be a good idea for you to go back and learn all of these terms from our last lesson. You've got your luggage, and maybe you've called a taxi. And the taxi has come. You get in and you tell your taxi driver, please take me to the airport. That's a phrase that you should learn. You might not need it when you're leaving because the taxi driver most likely speaks your language and you'll be able to communicate fine. But when you're out there and you're visiting other countries and you need to go to the airport, you might need to know how to say this in English. Please take me to the airport. The airport. That's very important that you learn at least that word, airport. Because a lot of times you can just get in the taxi and say airport, and the taxi driver will know where you want to go. And so you're driving, you're getting close to the airport, and the taxi driver might look at you and say, which terminal do you want to go to? Which terminal do you want to go to? And you might not know how to answer that question if you haven't prepared for it. You might think, oh, well, I just want to fly. I want to go to the airport. Please take me to the airport. What's a terminal? Well, it's important to know before you leave the house which terminal your airline leaves from. Now, in some of the smaller cities, you won't have to worry about this because there may only be one terminal at the airport. But in the larger cities, there can be as many as 5 or 6 terminals. I think Los Angeles might even have 10, if I remember right. So you need to be able to know which terminal your airline is leaving from in order to be able to tell your taxi driver which terminal you want to go to. And a lot of times it will be printed right on your ticket. So you can check your ticket. And it's a good idea to do this while you're still at home. Look for the terminal right on your ticket. It'll usually say Terminal 3, Terminal 5, right on the ticket. If you can't find it on your ticket, then you might want to call your travel agent. They'll know. Or you might just want to go to the website of the airport, and they should be there giving you a listing of all of the airlines and which terminal they leave from. So if you're flying on Qatar, you can look on the website for Qatar Airlines, and they will say Terminal 3 or Terminal 1, as the case may be. So lots of ways to find out which terminal you're going to, but you should know. So you can tell your taxi driver. Now, the next thing that your taxi driver might ask you is, do you want to go to arrivals or departures? Or he might say, do you want to go to the arrival level or the departure level? Most airports have 2 levels. And if you're leaving, it's usually the upper level that you go to. The departure level is usually the top level. And the arrival level is the bottom level. What is the difference between arrival and departure? Well, when you're leaving to go on your flight, that's the departure. You're departing your country. You're departing the airport. But when you're coming to the airport, you're arriving at the airport. You're arriving at the country. And you get off your plane. You go to through customs and immigration. You go to your baggage area. You get your bag, and you come out the bottom level of the airport and catch your transportation to the hotel or to the home that you're visiting. Arrivals or departures. That's important to know. And usually if you're flying out, you'll say, please take me to the departures level. The next question that the taxi driver might ask you is, what airline are you flying with today? What airline are you flying with today? And the reason why he asks that is because every terminal will have a certain section that is dedicated to a certain airline. And to save you a lot of steps, he will want to drop you off right at the area where your airline is going to have their check-in counter. If you don't know what airline you are flying with, he might just drop you anywhere, and you might have to struggle with both of your bags, your carry-on bags. Maybe you have a little toddler or maybe 2 or 3 toddlers with you, and you're having to walk a long distance to get to your check-in counter. You should know which airline that you're flying with. So you can tell the taxi driver, oh, today I'm flying Air Canada. And as you get to the right terminal, there'll be a sign there that says Air Canada. And they might even actually have 3 signs because they cover a larger area. And the taxi driver will let you off there, and you go in those doors. And as you go in those doors, you should be very close to the Air Canada check-in counter. Now, it's not always the case, and so if you get inside and you can't see Air Canada right away, what you can do is look. There's usually a big billboard with all of the flights that are leaving the airport in the next 5 or 6 hours. And you can look for your flight on that billboard. So Air Canada, flight 371, if that's your flight number, and it'll usually say the city that it's going to, well, you check your ticket. Yeah, that's my flight. And right beside it will be the check-in counter information. It'll give you either, it might say A3, And so you look down the aisle of the terminal, you look for the aisle A, and then head over to aisle A. And once you get to that area, you'll probably recognize the Air Canada logo, and you'll know that you're in the right area. Now, these days, things are changing at the airport. Modern technology is making it so that more and more these days, computers are doing the jobs that people used to. So, in some airports, the check-in process is done almost primarily on a computer. But in some of the older airports or some of the smaller airports or in countries that may not have the ability to install the computer equipment, it'll still be the old style where you have to go to an actual counter and talk to someone to get your boarding pass. So let's talk about both. First of all, let's talk about the old way, where you actually go to a counter and you'll probably see a row of maybe 5 check-in counters with agents standing behind the counter. The one thing to watch for when you decide which row to line up to is that there might be a section, there might be a counter that says first class or business class. And if your ticket is an economy class, then you need to line up in the economy rows rather than try and go through the first class. They'll send you away once you get to the counter. They'll say, oh no, you need to go over here. And so whatever ticket you're flying on, that's the row to line up in. Economy class, depending on the size of the airplane, might have 5 or 6 counters. And just pick the row that doesn't have too many people and get in line. And then when it comes time for you to step up to the counter, usually they'll say, passport and ticket, please. Passport and ticket, please. Or, may I see your passport and ticket? May I see your passport and ticket? And so that's when you hand them your passport, and usually you'll have your ticket inside, or you'll hand them both, and they're going to take your passport, and that's probably the first thing that they'll look at to make sure. They go to the passport page, they make sure that the person in the passport is the same person that they're looking at. They don't want to let anybody on the plane that doesn't have the proper documents. And they want to make sure that the person on the passport is the same as the person that's before them, because otherwise you could have people who are using someone else's identity to get on the plane and maybe do something bad on the plane. All right, so that's the first thing they'll check. And then they're going to check to see that it's a valid passport. When does your passport expire? And they might even say, your passport is going to expire in 6 months. The country that you are going to requires that you have 9 months left on your passport. I'm afraid that you're going to have to get another new passport before you can travel to this country. We talked about that in our last lesson, that be sure that the country that you're going to will allow you to travel based on the expiry date that is listed in your passport. So once they've made sure that everything is okay, that your documents are in order, the next thing they'll probably do, especially after they've maybe looked at your ticket to see the country that you're traveling to, then he will usually look through your passport to make sure that you have the visa. We talked about how important it is to get your visa ahead of time, right? Because you don't want to get to the airport and have the lady say, well, did you get your visa? I don't see it here. and you say, "Oh, I forgot to get my visa." And if you don't have the visa to travel, and the country you're going to doesn't allow you, people from your country, to get a visa on arrival, then your trip will have to be canceled. You'll have to get all of your bags, get a taxi, and go home, and make sure that you get your visa before you try again. And it probably means that you will have lost a lot of money because you can't fly on the day that you bought your ticket for. So make sure you get your visa. She might ask you, like if she's looking through mine, I've got so many visas, all my pages are almost full. She might get tired of looking, and she might say, "Did you get a visa?" So I'll have to show her the visa that I got for that country. All right, so once she has made sure that everything is okay, that your documents are in order, she might check on her computer to make sure that your name is listed for this flight. And then she might say, "Oh, okay, how many bags do you have to check today?" Or, "Do you have any check-in bags?" Check-in bags. And so yes, you say, "Yes, I have 2 check-ins today." And if your ticket that you purchased allows for 2 check-in bags without any extra costs, then she'll ask you to put your bags on the belt. So you lift your bags, you put them on the belt right beside the counter, and when you do that, there's a little scale there that is going to weigh your bags to make sure that your bags are not overweight. So be sure, even before you leave your house, that your bags are not overweight, because it can cause a real delay and problem at the airport. You either have to do one of 2 things. You have to pay extra money to have an overweight bag, or you have to take things out of your bag to bring it down to the right weight. And what are you going to do with all that stuff that you take out of your bag? You either have to throw it away, or you have to put it on, right? Or put it maybe in another bag that's going to maybe doesn't have as much in it, but it can be a problem. So it's a good idea to weigh your bags before you leave the house. So you've got your bags and they weigh properly, and then she types on her computer and it'll print out a luggage tag, and she'll take that and she'll attach it to your suitcase or your bag, your luggage. She'll attach it, and there's barcodes right on the tag that the computer will be able to read, and it has all of your information, your flight number, your destination, and everything that the airports need to know to make sure that you get your bag again. So they've put the luggage tag on your bag, and they press a button, and your suitcase begins to move down the belt. And then there'll be another belt behind the counter that it turns to, and that belt starts moving and takes your suitcase out of sight, and you might not see it again, at least until you get to your destination. All right, so what's next? The next thing that she will do, or he will do, is type on their computer again and print out a boarding pass. A boarding pass. And this is different than your ticket. Your ticket is the proof of purchase of the flight. It's what you get from your travel agent, that you have paid for this flight. But the boarding pass is the airline saying, "We agree that your ticket is valid, and we're now printing you another piece of paper called a boarding pass that will let you board the plane, get on the plane." And when you get to where your plane is parked, there'll be another ticket agent, or sometimes maybe even the same agent at the check-in counter. After they're finished there, they often go to the gate where your airline is parked, and they will check your boarding pass there and make sure that all of the information, and they'll also, again, check it against your passport. And if everything's okay on the boarding pass and passport, then you can get on the plane. The boarding pass has your name, your flight number. It has your boarding time, which is different than your departure time. You need to be at the gate where your plane is scheduled for boarding time, not departure time. You need to be there for the boarding time. It might be 30 minutes before your departure time that you need to be standing there with your passport and your boarding pass ready to get on the plane. If you wait until the departure time to come to the gate and the counter, you'll probably be out of luck. The doors will be closed and the agents will have left and you will have missed your flight. So be sure that you get there 30 minutes before departure time. So that's what the boarding pass has on it. And the other important thing to note there is your gate number. That's going to be on your boarding pass, or at least usually it is on your boarding pass. Sometimes if you get there too early, the airline might not even know which gate your plane is going to park when it arrives. And so they can't give you the gate number when you get your boarding pass. And so where it says gate number on your boarding pass, it might be blank. Or it might say to be determined. Or TBD, which stands for to be determined. So in that case, if you are not assigned a gate when you get your boarding pass, then what you need to do is, once you get past security and customs and immigration and are in the departure area, there'll be more billboards. And you keep an eye on that billboard and watch for your flight number and departure time and the city or country you're going to make sure you got the right one. And after a while, a gate number will appear. And then you'll know which gate to go to catch your flight. Well, after you've gotten your passport and your boarding pass, your counter agent might say, "That's everything. Have a good flight." And you're on your way. What do you do then? Well, the next thing to do is look for a big sign that says departures. That's your next step. After the check-in process, now you need to look for the sign that says departures and go to that area. All right, well, that's our lesson for today. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you learned some terms. You might have to watch it again to get everything. Write them down. Just one word before we sign off for today, and that is some of the students have been writing in to my wife, TK, and they've been saying, you're building this website and this app for the phones, the smartphones. Does that mean that you are no longer going to be posting lessons to YouTube? And they're worried and they're concerned. And so I just want to assure everybody that, yes, we will continue to post some of our lessons at YouTube. We love YouTube. YouTube has served us very well for the last 3 years or so. But we feel that we want to build something better for our students. And so we're building this website and phone apps to make it easier to study, help our students focus their study, focus on their goals of becoming fluent in English. And we feel that this will be not only better for our students, but it will be better for us as well. And the reason is, you should probably know that YouTube does not pay very well. They don't really pay us very much money to make these lessons. And a lot of time goes into these lessons, and the amount of money that YouTube pays just doesn't really cover our time, doesn't cover our costs. And we want to build up this program to make it a better system for you to learn English. And by creating these apps and making it available to the world, really, on an app, anybody with a phone can sign up. We hope that this will allow us to not only hire new people and have a lot more lessons every week, new lessons every week, but it will also make it a better place for our students to really do well, advance in their journey of learning English. And so just be assured that we will continue to post some of our lessons at YouTube. We know that there are a lot of people that want to learn English around the world that maybe don't have enough money to spend on lessons. Many of the countries that I visit, people are only making $2 or $3 a day. And they just can't really take money out of their food budget to spend on learning English. And so for those people, we want to continue to provide learning materials on our YouTube site where they can study for free. But at the same time, we also know that there are many students out there that can afford to pay for their lessons, and it'll work out great not only for us, because it'll allow us to grow our system and provide many more resources for learning English, many more lessons, but it'll also be better for you because you'll be in a much better learning environment. You'll be able to connect with other people who are on the same journey as you. There'll be a whole community of people who are learning English, and you'll be a part of that growing community. And so I want to encourage you. I'll put the website down at the bottom of the screen. I want to encourage you to check it out. We've got a special offer on right now where you can save a lot of money by becoming a foundational member, a charter member for our website. And anybody who signs up for the charter membership will make sure that you also get a complimentary subscription to the app once it's available. We'll see you next time here at Study English. So long for now.